Hello everyone and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 20th of March 2023. We're almost through Q1 2023 already. Where does the time go? It's Gary here again and I hope you had an excellent week. We all pretty much do collectively have an excellent week when Rangers win, and even more so when we win in, could I say, convincing and entertaining fashion. That's the way that I kind of remember it anyway. Long may that trend continue for our team as we continue, it feels like, to grow from strength to strength in the league, as at the same time as parts of our fan base brace ourselves for a less than desired season in terms of trophies, which then has them sharpening the knives for those at the helm in terms of leadership within the club themselves. These times, they're never good for anyone involved, and I'm not overly sure they materially help in the grand scheme of things either. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about this week. We're here to talk about the on-field items and then maybe some NARSA stuff as well. So we'll just get to the game segment right away here. And it was just a one game this past week, as you know, and that was Saturday's entertaining 4-2 win away at Fir Park against Motherwell, with goals from James Tavernier. Superb free kick to take him to number 98 competitive goals in Rangers colours. And then a kind of backward facing header from Fashion Sakala. Todd Cantwell's first goal for the club, which was a brilliant finish. And then an absolute screamer for Malik Tillman as well. 4 really top drawer goals from the team. And even just looking at highlights, if you didn't get a chance to see the game, just to see those goals, just incredible. Real good finishing, and great to see 4 different goal scorers there as well. So like most of our away games of late, the game was pretty entertaining. I said that at the beginning, and we kind of got to see the worst and the best, or the best and the worst, put it in whatever order you like, from the current first team, with some dodgy defending, some brilliant play, and as I mentioned, some great finishes as well. From what I remember, the first half wasn't really a whole lot of anything, with little in the way of goal mouth action, but there were some bookings, and then of course the 2 goals was 1-1 at half time, and the opening goal came completely, I thought, against the run of play, with a ball down the right, and then it's played across the box for a simple tap in. How many times I should just pre-record this part and then just play it every single week, because I seem to be saying the same every week these days. How many times are we going to see a repeat of this type of goal before we actually do something material about it to prevent them? Man. We then get a free kick just outside their box, not so long after, and Tav steps up. In fact, actually, materially, the boy might have been in a wee bit more trouble with that free kick, because he came in kind of scissor kick style. And I remember Tom and Lewis McLeod talking about that on the RTV coverage as well. Probably a yellow card is right, but anyway, Tav steps up and gets it over the wall and into the back of the net at the bottom right hand side of the goal. And I have to say, even at the very first time I seen it, I thought the goalie was a wee bit slow on that one, but maybe he's not expecting it to go up and down so quickly. The wall didn't do anything, the wall just stood there, and maybe possibly expecting that he's going to hit it low, but I don't know that Tav ever does hit it low. Anyway, we'll take it, and it's 1-1, and then we start the second half on absolute fire, and Sakala gets us in front for the first time in the game with a great header, kind of on I called it, what was it, backward facing earlier, like it was on the spin from a brilliant Tav ball, James Tavernier ball in as well. And then we again see a little bit of the worst of Tav when a corner, I think it was a corner, comes in, and he just totally misjudged the flight of the ball and kind of heads it up in the air. The ball comes down, nobody's attacking it. Tony Goals just decides to help, let's say help in inverted commas, by shielding the ball as Tav has a wee bit of a swing and a miss at it, and it's just slow motion. And then their sub, Mugabe, pokes the ball in kind of from behind Tony Goals a wee bit, and just absolute garbage, really, wasn't it? But the good thing is we didn't let that deter us, which was great, a great trait of the team, and then we're back ahead just 4 minutes later with some mayhem in the Motherwell box, resulting in 2 shots blocked brilliantly by the Motherwell goalie, especially the second one, only for Cantwell to finish high into the net. But the key part of this, and I said it was a brilliant finish earlier, was what was so brilliant for me about it was he had to it kind of almost had to do like a little bit of like a river dance, like a ballet move or something like that to kind of get him the ball away from his own feet, get out of his own way, and then just rifle it into the top of the net. So brilliant, brilliant goal, really, really good, and great to see him get off the mark. It's very fast becoming a fan's favourite, and he just loves it, which is great. Alfredo Morelos and the returning from injury Malik Tillman came on as subs and had an almost instant impact. I don't even know if it was a couple of minutes, maybe 3 minutes, something like that. I don't know. When both of them combined with Alfie cutting back and squaring to Tillman, who took the kind of deftest of touches to put it onto his right foot and then absolutely smashed it, didn't he? He creamed it into the top corner from just inside the box. An absolute peach of a goal and just brilliant. I mean, I don't know how the manager feels about that, but you have to imagine he's delighted to see the two subs make an instant impact like that as well. That's the point, isn't it? To bring them on to make a difference in the game. Motherwell then reduced to 10 men not long after that, after a second yellow offence, which on the replay, on the first playing, I have to say, I thought it was a booking. But then on the replay, I don't know, it felt a wee bit harsh. But that's the way it goes. And so with our 2-goal cushion and now the extra man, that was really it, wasn't it? We were never really in danger of losing any points in this one, I didn't feel. And we continued to have wave after wave of attack after that, I thought. But due to some kind of wasteful finishing and some goalkeeping trickery, we didn't get any more goals. So, we are scoring goals away from home now, and that's a great thing. If I think Michael Beale said it and after the match, where the type and style of play that we've adopted right now, we're maybe going to have to lose a goal now and again to score two at the other end. So if that continues to be the case and we continue to win the games and maybe not get the clean sheets, maybe that's okay. It probably is okay, but you never really want to see the team lose a goal anyway. Positives from the match, the result and most of the performance, apart from the goals. Our league form, honestly, is sensational, and we can't really ask for more than what we're getting right now. And with the scoreline as it was also really good to get some more minutes from a positivity perspective into John Souttar's legs as his recovery ticks along quite nicely as well. It seems like we've been really careful with these substitutions and getting players back from injury as well. There's nothing but cup finals here between now and the proverbial cup finals, of course, between now and the end of the season. So I don't know, we're going to have to try our best to really put games to bed to give these guys a bit more minutes to get them set up for a successful end to the season. On the negatives, Motherwell's 2 goals, as I said earlier, were just junk. They had 2 shots on target and they scored with both. And I know I keep saying this, but imagine our goals return was the same as most of the teams that we play against, but only it seems to be when they're playing against us, of course. If that was the case, we'd have won Saturday's game 10-2 because we had 10 shots to their 2. Other than that, it wasn't the type and style of game to get all worked up about. We did what we have to do and we got the 3 points and we move on. In terms of stats, we had 77% possession, a wee bit higher than we've had for the last few weeks. And in total, on and off target, we had 22 shots to their 3. Just utter domination of the game. On the referee watch, I thought Nick Walsh did okay, as I mentioned earlier. I thought with the benefit of the replay that the Motherwell boy Slattery's second yellow card was a wee bit harsh, but I can see why the ref gave it on first viewing, and he was assisted by VAR on a couple of occasions as well with the tightest of offside or onside calls. One for Motherwell's first goal and one, I think it was our third goal. And this is where VAR really does a great job. It's either on or it's off. They use the technology, they confirm it, and then we move on from there. I know it's getting a wee bit of bad press because of some dodginess over at Shark Head and maybe some other grounds over the weekend, but on this one, I think it was fair news, as they say. So he's going to get a 7 out of 10 for his efforts. Like the Rangers team, he did what he had to do and didn't do anything overly spectacular in the game. So 7 out of 10 is standard for that. So with that result and the fact that the other mob won again, we have 9 games to go and remain the 9 points behind them. Obviously, the games are ticking away at quite the clip for us, which really is too bad. I'm absolutely convinced, honestly I am, that their run just won't continue, just can't continue, and it will eventually end, and they'll start to sputter and stutter as people get used to the type and style of play that they have, but it's most likely not going to happen in time for us to catch them. We basically need to win all 9 games and then hope that they have a post-international break collapse, which is probably unlikely given what they've served up this year, but you never know. It's ironic that if we win our remaining 9 games, we'd end up on 100 points. 100 points and we'd still lose the league. So anyway, you never know. You never know, as Big Marvin said back in 2005. Just keep believing, and we'll keep believing. I don't want to say all this until it's mathematically impossible stuff, but I mean that's ultimately what we have to do, I guess, and just take it from there. But yeah, that's a kind of wee bit of an overview. No games, of course, this week due to the international break, and the next competitive match we have is at home to Dundee United on the 1st of April. So I'll talk a wee bit more about that next week. We do have the weekend of Legends next weekend with a Rangers Legends side taking on an English Premiership Legends select, and that's on Sunday the 26th of March, and that's a 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 2 p.m. UK, and this game will be included on our RTV package for this season for all the clubs, of course, and then anyone who has individual vouchers as well. And just a wee reminder, the UK's clocks go back next weekend, so that's why it'll be back to the time difference that it is as well. Nothing. I didn't hear anything on RTV. So anything that you have in terms of RTV, please get in touch with Alan and myself, and we'll get you squared up and sorted out. 4 shout outs for this week. Firstly, I did get contacted by a listener. Thank you very much for listening to write something up about Sammy Cox in preparation for the Heart and Hand show that is going to be going out. So that's great. So a big thank you to David Shillinglaw for that one, and looking forward to getting that piece and getting that over. And you might remember, if you listened last week, that a notification came in over Messenger as I was recording, so I didn't get a chance to see it because it would have stopped the recording if I stopped the app on the phone for recording, and it was from Fraser Muir, and Fraser's dad would have been 86 last Monday, so he wanted us to wish him a very happy heavenly birthday from Fraser and the family, and of course all at NARSA. So a very happy heavenly birthday to Fraser's dad, who, as I say, would have been 86 last week as well. For NARSA 2023, I can officially confirm that it's 86 days, 86, and 12 weeks until we really get going in Toronto and get the convention really underway for this year. And as I mentioned over the last couple of weeks, the hotel rooms and the event tickets are still on sale. Did have a meeting with the hotel last week to talk through what options we have in terms of trying to reduce the risk to NARSA and make sure that the hotel gets what they need as well. And we looked at some options in terms of reframing the contracted booking, and the output of that is that we agreed to meet later in the month and see where things sit for that as time moves on. One thing that was shared is in looking at, if you were deciding to go to Toronto at a given point in time and it was out with the NARSA part, if you look at the website, any website actually, that you're looking to try and book hotel rooms in the Sheraton in Toronto, it would be over $600 per night. 600 plus, I think it was like 606 plus the taxis and plus whatever else it is that goes with it. So to get it for $229 a night is incredible. Still a lot of money, I know and understand, for a night in a hotel, but in comparative terms, it's an absolute steal that we've got. Anyway, a wee bit more about that once we get a chance to chat to them at the end of the month. And again, for those who have purchased tickets, thank you very, very much for doing that. For those that haven't, just a gentle reminder, the tickets are on sale. You can get them via the NARSA website, and they are $225 Canadian for all 3 nights. In terms of the prize, the motivational prize for a 2-night convention stay, I did say last week I was going to chat to the NARSA exec, and I just didn't get to do that. So to see whether it's going to go to an individual or whether it's going to go to an official NARSA club. So we will see how that looks over the next wee while. I promise I'll get to that this week when things settle down a wee bit more. Another reminder, the Holiday and Flight Centre have their full packages for sale for folks that have expressed their interest in the one-stop shop approach, and you can go to @theconvention.com to see what Rosie and team have to offer. On the guest front, we did have another Rangers Football Club legend say, just confirm on the weekend, actually that they can't make it to this year's event. Got a bit of a family thing going on, somewhat similar to Richard Gough last week. So it's just seems to be shaping up to be the way that it is this year. It's such a strange experience for us to have this kind of situation where, you know, the list of preferred folks, you know, to give folks a wee bit of everything and a wee bit of variety from previous years and things like that. It just doesn't seem to be materialising for us, which is, as I say, strange is probably the best word to use. So anyway, we move on, and we'll hopefully have some decent news on that front next week to see who will be joining the confirmed Mark Haitley and Willie Henderson there, and also of course David Edgar from the Heart and Hand podcast as well. Just another reminder that the magazine is out for sale for clubs. It's $150 per regular page. For sponsors and or any businesses and things like that, I think it's $350 a page, and then there's increased charges for some of the real show pages, you know, the middle pages, the outside of the back cover and things like that. You can make your payments to Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club via tmrsc1998@outlook.com. So the football, the magazine, and now the Saturday excursion. I said last week it was going to be Friday because that was my assumption, because that's what we've been talking about all the time. But the Toronto Midtown Club have decided it's going to be on the Saturday, is now out there, so that they have everything. That now everything is out there from a host club perspective, because the host club organise the golf, the football, the excursion and the Saturday night entertainment, and they take the real lead on the leaving do on the Sunday as well. And details of the Saturday tour, which is a brewery tour to Amsterdam Brewery, were released on the weekend there via their social media channels, so you can go there and check that out. We'll also be doing a wee bit of a blast of all the events, and a reminder to purchase tickets and the like through our email distribution list here shortly. I was hoping to actually do that on the weekend, and ended up just really busy over at the ski hill with Leo, and then just kind of busy at other times as well. So we'll work that email blast just to let everybody know where they can go for everything, and make it a wee bit easier for the folks that are still kind of on the fence, or the folks that are intending to come but just haven't gotten around to it. So you expect to see that at some point this week as well. And last on the convention front, we did meet with Stevie from the Pride of the Rock Flute Band this past Friday, just to kind of talk through the fundraisers that the Toronto Midtown Club hosted at Toronto Number One's place there a couple of weekends ago, and just in general how things are shaping up, what they're doing, where they're at, and we had a great chat in preparation for them coming over. They're very, very excited to come over. They're looking to see when they're going to be on, which is of course the Friday night and the Sunday afternoon, and then when they'll have some free time to meet up with friends and family and the like. So some logistics still to kind of work out over that, but yeah, they're really excited, very proactive, communicating lots and lots as well, which is great. Just on the other business, I think I mentioned last week, or I meant to mention last week, that, you know, this I'm going to mention it every week from now until convention time, that this is an election year for our annual general meeting, which will be on the Saturday of the convention, and we have an election, and the election includes every position apart from the existing president position. The president position can only go to someone who's served for 2 years prior, and every other position, even for the folks that are incumbent, they still have to go through this process, which is of course determined by our constitution, which is to get a nomination. Typically they do it from their host club or their member club, and then they get a seconder, and then it goes into the bucket. And we do already have a nomination and a seconder for the communications director as well. So things are getting moving on that. There's a wee bit of early movement there, and just remember, you have up until the 17th of April to get that in. Anything received after the 17th of April will not be received. It'll be too late by that point, and again, that's dictated by our constitution as well. So you have just under 4 weeks, I guess, to get that organised, if that's something that you are interested in doing or planning to do. On the communications front for this past week, we've got a couple now that I'm going to get through here, and the first one is I'd been promising for I believe the last couple of weeks at least, maybe three, that we would get Martin Ramsey and Ian Hogg, both from the Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, to come on to talk about their respective books. Martin Ramsey's book is Revolution, and Ian's is Our Rangers Heroes, Incredible Stories of Forgotten Heroes from Across the Ages. Now, what through my scheduling that I kind of talked about a wee bit earlier on there, I was hoping to speak with both guys on the weekend there. I only managed to catch up with Martin, and that was today actually at lunchtime, and a bit of a crunch in between a couple of meetings, quite honestly. So what we'll do is I'll get a chance to chat to Ian next week, and maybe that's actually better because Ian's book isn't out until I believe it's a week today, maybe even 2 weeks today, officially out. And Martin's book is already out as well. So maybe just in terms of chronology, it's the best way to do it. Plus, I'm not overdoing it with the interviews in the same vein. So what we'll do now is we'll flip over to the interview I conducted with Martin earlier today to talk about his book Revolution, and I hope you enjoy it. It's not too long, and you'll get a chance to see and feel a wee bit of the history of the book and where it fits and sits with the overall plan for another book that's coming out a little bit later, and just a wee bit of inspiration as to why this might be a good purchase for you as well. So I'll pass it over there, and I'll see you in a bit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the big interview that I've been promising over the last couple of weeks on the NARSA weekly update. And I'm very, very delighted to have none other than Mr. Martin Ramsey with us here to talk a wee bit more about his book. But before we get to the book part, Martin, I just want to double check. As we record here on the 20th of March 2023, have you recovered from Vegas in June 20?
I think my liver has, body maybe, soul not so much. It's going to take I think it's fair to say 2022 in general was busy in airports and bars and sun loungers and stadiums and whatever. And 2023 has not been thus far. And you know what? I'm all right about that. And next year we'll go again.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Martin was co-MC with David Edgar in Las Vegas last year, and had a very enjoyable time from beginning to end of his first NARSA experience. And of course, with it being in Vegas, it's easy to get immersed in all that sort of stuff. Great company, great fun, and thanks again for your help on that. But we're not here to talk about that, notwithstanding the fact that Martin's a regular podder on the Heart and Hand and one of the main men, if I could say that. Martin is also an author of a number of books now, my understanding is, and we've got him on to talk about here his latest book as well. So what you're going to get from me is a wee bit of an opportunity for me to do a bit of an interview, but you're going to hear more so from Martin rather than me. So Martin, can you tell us a wee bit of the background and history of your current book?
Well, it was supposed, this is one of two, and the second will be out hopefully for Christmas. But it was supposed to be the one big book. That was my idea, covering the Rangers Revolution, its ups and downs from 86 to Walter leaving first time around in 98, and that whole period, everything that went on with Rangers, a changing Scotland, a changing sport of football, everything intertwined in this period of change and modernisation. And it became very clear very quickly that was just going to be far too big. So a quick conversation with the publisher, let's split it into two. And they are two very, I think, distinct stories. So this first one, Revolution 86 to 92, it tells the story of exactly that, how Rangers changed the game, how they changed, or David Holmes and Graham Souness primarily changed the club, and why by 92 I would argue that it was over. The revolution was over in terms of forward thinking, pushing new barriers, breaking new ground. Other revolutions were taking place that were bigger, and we had lost that forward momentum, and we're now starting to maybe look a wee bit more inward and towards 9 in a row, 10 in a row, and that kind of thing, which obviously comes later. But it's that story of what happened, what could have happened, what might have been, but a period, and I'm sure you would agree, Gary, where every week was exciting or chaotic, but it felt that Rangers could sign anyone and win anything, and trying to capture that excitement for those who were there, but for those who weren't. And who knows, light a fire of ambition once again.
Yeah, definitely. The excitement in and around the time, and just to kind of think in today's market and today's, where we stand in today's footballing hierarchy, if you like, in terms of Scotland, and what the luxuries that we were afforded at that particular time, through a variety of different reasons. It's incredible to think that we had our pick of whomever we wanted from wherever we wanted, and to have the current England goalie and England captain readily coming up the road and performing very, very well for us. It's an unbelievable story. So just in terms of that, what was the inspiration behind this specific period, and why was it of such an interest to you?
Well, first of all, it is my period, the same way that it is yours. I mean, I was born in 1980. My first memory, any footballing memory, was the arrival of Souness or the Mexico World Cup. So that's where I started. And I write in the book, I've mentioned in another podcast before, I was 17 and a half. I'd been behind the wheel of a car before I knew how it felt to end the season with Rangers not winning anything. And that's an incredible time. Your childhood and your adolescence is where you soak all that in. I know we still take it very seriously in adulthood, probably too much for guys of our age, but that's just the way it is. But you still have competing interests. You have other priorities. You have family and careers and whatever. All that's ahead of you when you're a kid, when you're a teenager. It's absolute obsession about Rangers, and what a time to do that. So that was my time. After the last book, the 50 Greatest Rangers Games, where we asked the listeners at Heart and Hand to vote for these games, there were a few from this era, about a third actually, but a lot from 86, 87, this big bang, and then a lot from almost 12 months from Gascoigne's hat-trick to Gough lifting that ninth title at Tannadice. So it's all at either end. And I thought, there's a huge story missing in here. How Souness lost that title in 87, 88, then won it back again with interest and really get the wheels going again. Maybe some forgotten players that don't quite get the credit they deserve. The story of David Holmes not really being as well known as it probably should be. And as I said, some moans and groans and frustrations, especially getting into the mid-90s, where we are plastered with football from Italy and England mainly, but the Champions League on all the time. This feeling that there's maybe a party elsewhere and we're not really at it, even though we're winning and winning at home. It wasn't as plain sailing as maybe people think. I know that's all relative to today's troubles, but so I'll try to capture that detail and nuance, I suppose. My first idea was certainly I just wanted to go back to this early Souness time and capture how he managed chaos, because that's really what it was. I had other ideas about Rangers fans kind of detached from the Scotland national team and the other kind of football revolutions that were on. So I had all these kind of ideas in my head about a new book. I said, why not just do the big history thing? Why not just this whole scope? And there's hopefully we cover everything in this book and the next, Scottish politics, sectarianism, the media, how we as fans consume the game, going from something like maybe, if you're lucky, double figures in terms of live games a season to 1992 having over 80, and just this absolute consumption, and how that then affected our assessment of Rangers. Obviously, Smith kind of bore the brunt of teenagers like us who were watching all this football, say, why aren't we playing like that? Who were playing Championship Manager and well into the night and should have been studying for exams. I said, well, if he doesn't know this Albanian striker in the second tier, or we do, why doesn't he? And this very spoiled and expectant teenage support, I suppose, just because how we saw it completely changed. That 86 cup final, the famous one, we beat Celtic and Cooper scored the penalty, that was the same day that Diego Maradona was doing his keepy-uppy on the field for Napoli. We wouldn't see that again, really, for a few years until that film came out. It may as well have been on the moon, because we were enjoying all this almost with a curtain around it. We knew stuff was out there, of course we did. We saw we weren't in the European Cup final. We knew other things were going on. We'd see it every 2 years, of course, with internationals. But we were kind of protected a wee bit. We didn't get live English football. ITV had that. STV, no. We got films from the 1930s and 40s and that Sunday afternoon slot. So it meant that what we were seeing at an exciting time was even more exciting because we're kind of shielded from anything else, and obviously all that changed very quickly.
Yeah, a lot of things to unpack there, and one of the things that is really prevalent for me, and you mentioned it there, it's not just a football book; it's a societal book. There's a bunch of information just to add context to how things were influenced or how we influenced things, or kind of like that. That kind of two-way transaction of the political force of football as well. Like, what would you say was one of the bigger learnings that you got from the research that you were putting into this book?
Well, talking about David Holmes, I think should have a massive portrait somewhere that is front and center. Because he wasn't just an ideas guy, he just got down to business and spent a lot of time with Campbell Ogilvie to try and bring this kind of story to life. He was keen to talk, and then when he found out that the project covered David Murray's time as well, he immediately wasn't keen. I believe he's got a book coming out soon, which is good because his story needs to be told. But he's a very hands-on guy, even talking about the hospitality suites. Who knew about hospitality suites really in 1986? Not in Scotland, but he was literally sketching out plans within the bowels of the stadium. We don't use this space. How can we use this space more? Creches for the players' kids, during training, where their wives would be in. This family feel that he and Betty would be always there, talking to sponsors, but also great relationships with players. After that 86 win, that first cup, everybody was back at Ibrox. Every member of staff was back at Ibrox. And the explosion of the operation as a whole, vision, right? That's what held Scotland back for all these Rangers, but Scottish football as well. Couldn't see the opportunities that Heysel had brought up. And Souness and Holmes, they didn't just have ideas, they just went out and grabbed them. And that kind of zeal. And it was very much of its political time, but not in Scotland. That's the southeast. That's Tory England. That really was Thatcherism. Ripping up wage caps, catering for corporate guests, signing policies. Don't care. They don't care how it affects you. They don't care your emotional attachment to that. Nothing stands in the way of progress, kind of thing. And to have that on the banks of old mythical Red Clydeside is quite the thing. Sandy Jemison wrote a book on that about 25 years ago, which was very interesting. I've engaged with a lot of that. But what I wanted to look at in terms of the political stuff was how the fans were dealing with that at the time. And the Follow archive, which I've got, is just a treasure trove of that contemporaneous feeling. You have fans that don't care. A lot don't care, obviously. A lot are quite happy to be in sync with that. But there are a few who are struggling with that. A lot of this new success, right, but where's it coming from? That these two Thatcherites, Murray and Souness, and they're not comfortable with the way this is kind of coming about. And that tension is absolutely fascinating. And I hope I've kind of brought that to life.
Brilliant. Yeah, it sounds. I've made a start on it. I just got a copy there last week, so I haven't managed to get through it. But maybe once I get through it, we can maybe get you back on again and walk and talk through some of the nuances of some of the learnings that I've gleaned from it as well. I'd love to do that.
Always a pleasure to speak to you guys.
Absolutely. So for our listeners, Martin, how can they get a hold of the book? What's the best way?
Oh, there are a couple of ways. Obviously, it's if you want it signed, you can get it on heartandhand.co.uk/revolution. I'll be honest, for you guys over there, it probably would work out best cost-wise just to go to old Jeff himself and go on Amazon and get a copy that way. Obviously, it's available in Kindle now as well, and whatever ebook reader you have. So it should be available wherever you like to shop for your books. But I'm proud of it. It's I hope it has resonance not just with Rangers support, but actually outside, even in a more British audience, because it was this time, these few years, just a short window, where the most exciting story in British football was further north in Manchester, and I think that's been forgotten a wee bit, and it's about time that was brought back into the consciousness a bit.
Agreed. Perfect. I look forward to reading more, my friend. As always, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. I hope everybody gets what they need from this. I will put a link to the Heart and Hand site in the blurb for tonight's pod, and would encourage anybody to go and get a copy. As Martin says, if you book it through the Heart and Hand site, you will get it signed as well. So good luck on anything, and please let us know if we can do anything else. But until next time, my friend, thanks again.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Martin's a good guy, and we had a good time to chat. One thing we didn't actually get to on the interview today is that it's actually based on a series of podcasts that he done on the Heart and Hand Network. Now, the Heart and Hand Network, if you don't know, there are some free shows out there, and there are some subscription shows out there. This initially was a subscription show, but they've now put it out free to air. So if you go to patreon.com/Heart and Hand, you'll get to get a wee bit of a taster. And the series he did is called Dominant. That's the actual name of the series. That's Dominant, and then that's the inspiration. So he was basically doing these podcasts at the same time as he was finalising the content for the book as well. And I'll put the details for how to get Martin's book from the Heart and Hand website on the blurb for tonight as well. And as I mentioned, we'll get Hoggy on next week to talk about our Rangers Heroes book, and then hopefully you'll get a chance to enjoy that as well. We also met with Greg Marshall, as I mentioned there last week, to get a wee bit of a think tank together. I did get one person reaching out to say that they would be interested in the think tank, so that's great news. And just an open call again. You don't have to be part of the NARSA executive to be involved, and if you have strong opinions about what NARSA's doing, what we're not doing, how we can modernise ourselves and ensure that we're relevant as we're going forward, I would absolutely love to hear from you. So please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll get that organised as well. I also noticed this on an email distribution that I'm part of each week, and there's the first ever Sean Graham International Memorial Trophy is going to be held in aid of 3 Scottish charities, and that's going to be on the 4th of June this year, and it's going to be at Hamilton Accies ground, and it's held in memory of a Scotland football fan, the writer Sean Graham, of course, of the name, but also the reason I think this is quite topical for us, Celtic legend Jinky Johnson, Rangers hero Fernando Rickson, former captain of course, and Scottish rugby idol Doddie Weir. And the event will see a Renfrewshire United Old Firm select take on the famous Tartan Army magazine Scotland Legends Select at the ZLX Stadium, New Douglas Park. So this is the inaugural match, and it's going to raise funds for the My Name's Doddie Foundation, the Beatson Cancer Charity, and the Hamilton Accies Community Trust, while also remembering the 4 brave personalities who each fought their own battle. Jinky, Fernando and Doddie with motor neuron disease, and the Tartan Army member Sean with cancer as well. So great to see. I hadn't heard a thing about that before, but just great to see the work that's taken place in memory of these folks after the fact, and trying to keep their memory alive and also do good for existing and hopefully preventing future sufferers of that as well. Tickets for the match is £10 for adults, £5 for under 16s or over 65s or the disabled as well. And I'll put a link to the to where you can go and get a wee bit more information and buy tickets as well, and that's on the Hamilton Accies website as well. So yeah, great to see Fernando's name in the mix there as and doing good after his passing, of course. And finally, on the communication front for this week, Rangers, you'll know this for sure, of course, but Rangers and that other mob agreed that neither club are going to take tickets or take away fans to the remaining Scottish Premiership encounters between the sides. We are due, of course, to visit Sharkhead on the 8th of April, with the final league meeting going to be after the split, and we'll see when that's going to be. But as you know, since I think it was 2018-19, the away allocations have been reduced when Rangers just decided that's it, we don't need your kind around here anymore, to just wreck the stadium, and then that mob did it as well, and then it's just been kind of different since then. And I guess that's what we're doing. So we'll see what that looks like. I mean, kind of ironic that we're going to Sharkhead first, so they get the immediate benefit of that, and what is going to be a very crucial game in terms of the Premier League title race. But I don't want to overthink it. If that's what we're doing, if that's what they think is going to be safest and the most appropriate for the fans of both sets of supporters, then fair enough, I guess. So yeah, anyway, that will do it for this week, my friends. As always, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, here's to actually enjoying a wee bit of a breather from the football and an opportunity to recharge your batteries and really get going for the final 11 games of the season. Until next week, take care, my friends, and all the very best. Okay, cheerio.